Rage is a primary emotion that narcissistic parents, narcissists in general, use to control you, to belittle you, shame you, and most of all, to silence you. And in this video, I'm going to be talking about narcissistic rage, what it does to you long term, and what you can do to heal it. I'm Dr. Meg Haworth. I'm a transpersonal psychologist, holistic nutritional chef, and best-selling author of Get Well Now, Healing Yourself with Food and the Power of the Mind. And I help wounded ACONs, adult children of narcissists, become healed icons. And an icon is somebody who's independent, confident, original, and naturally you. I provide a spiritual solution for you to get your narcissistic parent out of your head and out of your body so that you can heal holistically. So in this video, like I said, we're going to talk about narcissistic rage, and it's pretty intense because it's one of the many emotions that narcissists use to control you with. And narcissistic parents who will use rage, and you never know when they're going to use it, which is one of the elements of rage and why it's so difficult for you and the impact of it is so difficult for you. It's something I refer to as narcissists are predictably unpredictable. So you know they're going to blow up at you at some point for something, but you don't always know what it is. And you're always trying to suss out, like, what is their mood before you tell them some news that they might get upset about. And then you're shocked when they don't get upset, or in fact, they might be happy for you for something that you're trying to tell them. But you're constantly worried about setting the narcissistic parent off. And so when you think about that, when you're worried about setting off your own parent, getting them enraged, which really is their responsibility, but you believe it's your responsibility to make them comfortable, to make them happy, and to essentially carry the responsibility for their rageful fits. When it's not your responsibility, but as a small child, you start to realize, like, well, if they're not going to control themselves, then I'm going to have to do what I can to make sure they don't explode into these rageful fits. And so you do all these things. You start people pleasing. You start being quiet. You start staying out of the way. You go up to your room and you read, or you try not to make any waves, or you try to keep the peace amongst family members. And so you can start looking for all of these strategies to try to make sure your narcissistic parent doesn't blow up in rage. But the problem is it doesn't work. Because remember what I just said, rage is predictably unpredictable with a narcissistic parent. You do not know what's going to set them off. Some things you think they will just freak out over, they don't. And some things that are so teeny tiny and make absolutely no sense is when they freak out. And so because of this unpredictable thing that goes on with a narcissistic parent and their rage, you will become hypervigilant. And well, what does that mean exactly? That means that you will be constantly looking around every room. You're going to scan every situation to see where the potential danger might be. And this will be so natural to you, you won't even notice that you're doing it. But you'll look for the person in the room who's maybe sort of brooding or seems like they're angry or upset. And you may even try to go and smooth things out for them because you're so used to doing that for the narcissistic parent. And you don't want to see this person blow up in the room. So you might be doing all kinds of things, trying to create a situation where things will go smoothly. Again, taking responsibility and believing it's your fault to a certain degree. That if you don't successfully keep them from getting enraged, that you did something wrong. So either way, you're like in the double bind. You're damned if you do, and you're damned if you don't when you're dealing with a narcissistic parent and trying to juggle or manage their rageful emotional fits. So being hypervigilant all the time can create tremendous anxiety. So you may be very anxious as an adult. You may be very depressed as an adult, and you may be constantly worried about every little thing in your life. You're constantly worried about upsetting other people to your own detriment. And so then you may be on medications to try to just even out that anxiety feeling or try to make it go away somehow. But it's important to understand that anxiety is a collection of emotions, and fear and worry are at the center of that. And it's that fear and worry that your system was entrained to feeling all the time when you grow up with a narcissistic parent. And they may not even be narcissistic, they just might be what some people term rageaholics, where they just fly into rage and you just never know when it's going to happen. It's like they're addicted to rage and using that rage to silence you. This can happen with parents that have borderline personality disorder. It's not really about the disorder they have, it's about the behavior that they exhibit. And if you know that you've been managing your narcissistic parent's rage and you're still managing it into adulthood, you're still afraid to tell them things that are important to you or things that you're up to for fear that they're going to blow up at you, or just have an interaction with them and they can blow up with you over seemingly nothing. If this information is resonating with you right now, please go ahead and hit the like button to let more people know that, hey, this video is out there and could be helpful for them. Also, please put a comment in the comment section below and tell me some of your story of what you've dealt with when it comes to narcissistic rage and how maybe you also deal with it as you become an adult. So let's talk a little bit more about anxiety that's caused by narcissistic parental rage. And this is long-term anxiety that I'm talking about. So these collection of emotions, this worry, this fear, and it's not just fear. We're talking about absolute terror, because a narcissistic parent is basically terrorizing you with anger. And that may not register with you too easily, but as you start to really look at it, and this happens with my clients all the time, they'll be holding so much terror in their bodies, but because it was so normalized, or they had to find a way to sort of normalize it in their own systems, they don't even recognize it as terror. But once they start to recognize the terror and they start to understand where it came from, it wasn't on them. It was on the narcissistic parent who created this circumstance where you felt like you had to juggle their emotional state. You had to try to make them feel better. You felt like you had to make them feel better. You felt like you had to try to prevent the rageful fits that they would go into. And you felt like it was all on you, but it's not you. It's all on them. And learning to release the terror from your body, from your emotional field, from your energy field will help you so much. Because then it releases it from the body. It releases you from this fallout, from the terror. It releases you from the anxiety, from the fear, the worry, the terror, and all of those different emotions that cascade through your body. So we know that when your body registers an emotion, when you register an emotion, every single cell of your body registers that emotion too. And so when you think about you're in anxiety for years and years on end, what do you think that's going to do to your body? I'll tell you what it's going to do. It's going to do what it did to mine. It's going to create a tremendous amount of anxiety, will create illness in the body. And so I think of it this way, and it's a different way of looking at it. But if you're looking at it from an energetic standpoint, because we are made of energy, we have this biofield, and it's been scientifically measured. This energetic field that we have around us has been scientifically measured. And so when you are feeling this energy, constant energy, where you're being drained, and you'll even describe it that way. I feel drained after I've interacted with my narcissistic parent. I feel exhausted. I don't feel good. You're losing all of this emotional energy, because energy, emotions, negative emotions have some of the biggest charge of anything on the planet. And when we're looking at rage, rage has a massive charge. And if you think about, you've absorbed the impact of that rage, and then you've got your own reaction to the rage, because you might get enraged, but there's no place to go with that. So you internalize it, you push it down into your field. And when I say there's no place to go, what I mean is there's no resolution ever, because that narcissistic parent is never going to apologize to you for blowing up at you. They feel completely justified in the way that they treat you. And it doesn't occur to them to have any empathy, because they don't have empathy for what impact this has on you. So over time, you will lose energy from your field, and everybody does it differently. But where I see the most damage being done is in the digestive tract, where you lose so much energy through anxiety and that constant buzzing and this flipping going on in your stomach, the knot in your stomach. All of these things I've had clients talk to me about over and over and over again, that knot in the stomach, that feeling. And so you're holding that energy in your field, in your stomach, and then it gets stuck. And then you keep losing energy over time. And then your biology cannot run itself the way it needs to. It needs energy to run. Your whole body needs energy to run. So then you get digestive issues. You get ulcers like I had. You get irritable bowel syndromes like I had. You get leaky gut syndrome like I had. And then maybe prolapsed hemorrhoids like I also had. So that digestive tract can get completely messed up, completely destroyed. And if the digestive tract gets destroyed, that means your immune system gets destroyed. It can get the immune response, because your immune system in that upper intestinal tract where you're supposed to absorb all those wonderful nutrients that come in through your food, it's with leaky gut and other intestinal issues, you're now getting all of this toxic overload coming into your bloodstream through the upper intestinal tract. Your immune response is being lowered. And as that gets lowered, you get sick. You're more susceptible to infections and all kinds of other illnesses. And you may have all kinds of issues. And it's a holistic problem, because we're looking at the mental, emotional, physical, energetic, and spiritual, how that affects the physical body over time and how that can create illness. But the good news is, and there's good news here, is that you can reverse it. All those things I just told you I had, I don't have them anymore. I looked at my food. What was I eating? I found that I had food allergies and sensitivities, and I removed those foods from my diet, and that helped tremendously, but it didn't make the anxiety go away. And so that's when I found the work that I do now as a transpersonal psychologist. I found that mind-body connection and how our thoughts, feelings, and beliefs affect our physical body, and how the experiences of our lives create those responses. So an experience of having that rageful parent in your face, screaming at you, silencing you, belittling you, shaming you, making you feel horrible about yourself, making you feel like you're the bad person when they're the ones that they're in this fitful rage. So they're the ones wearing away at you and wearing away at your field. But again, you're taking responsibility because you're to blame for everything, right? So all of these things, rage is a huge, huge problem when it comes to narcissistic parenting and how it impacts you. And that's what I'm most interested in, is how does this impact you and how can we reverse it? So the other thing I help people with, along with the food piece, is I help them with my whole person integration technique. And it is an emotional release therapeutic process that helps you get to the emotions, how your body's holding those emotions, and also the limiting belief associated with them. And I'm going to talk about the limiting belief as programming. You were programmed by your narcissistic parent to make you easier to control. End of sentence. You were programmed by your narcissistic parent to make you easier to control. And so these programs are things like, I'm not good enough. I never get it right. I don't matter. I am unlovable. I'm a bad person. All of those thoughts will get programmed into you to the point where when you leave that narcissistic family system, even if you go no contact or you leave the home and you start your own life, you're going to be turning all of that in on yourself and not even know it. You're going to be self-critical. You're going to be cruel to yourself. You may have issues with substances or other kinds of addictions. You might have an eating disorder. There are so many ways that this can show up in your body and in your field. And all these things are impacted by that one emotion, rage, and many others. Shame is another big one. You're going to feel ashamed when you weren't successful at getting your narcissistic parent to not blow up at you. So, this is an insidious emotion, and it carries a lot of other emotions with it: the shame, the guilt, the pain, and the rage and the anger. All of those things will affect your body and can affect your life and your relationships, because then you may shut down in your relationships as an adult and not be able to say what you want to say or say what you need to say because you're so afraid you're going to set people off. So instead, you may avoid conversations altogether, and you might actually ruin relationships that were really wonderful and supportive for you because you're so afraid to just say what's on your mind. But why would you feel safe to do that? Why would you? It doesn't make sense. So, what you need to do, though, is to work on yourself to become a sovereign you, to become the icon in your own life. So that means you become independent, confident, original, naturally you, the person you were always, always meant to be. But you were separated from that part of you by your narcissistic parent so they could control you into their agenda and to do their bidding for the things that they wanted. And that's horrible when you think about it. So you can clean up this narcissistic rage and what it did to you, the ways that you're still holding that energy in your system, the ways that it's draining your system. You can heal this. So if this resonates with you, then please contact me. Please apply to be a part of my program, Iconic Me Group Coaching, and my academy. I would love to have a conversation with you to see if we'd be a good fit to have you join me. I am offering a holistic solution, a spiritual solution that you won't find anywhere else in the world. And if this resonates with you, you've done a lot of work on yourself, you've been to therapy, you've tried shamanic journeys, you've tried so many different things, but you feel like this one thing, your narcissistic parent and the programs that came along with that parent are holding you back, then contact me. The links are in the description and the comments below. And thank you so much for watching. I hope this information has been really helpful for you. I'm Dr. Meg Haworth, and I hope this information will help you get well now.